Texas is favored to win the Big 12 in football this year. This data is now out. Does that mean that Texas is back again, like the previous times they're back again? That depends. There's a lot to this. Is it Big 12 championship or bust for Texas? You know, we're displaced now where I've asked the question a few times. Is it NFC championship game or bust for Dallas? I think yes. Some would say, is it Super Bowl or bust for the Jets? I say no. I think that's a stretch, but a lot of people say it. So now it is it Big 12 championship or bust for Texas this year? Yeah, probably. No, not probably. Yes. Gosh, yes. So that question comes down with some moving parts, as usual, because are they as good as people think? Probably not. Are they as bad as people think? Probably not. The record is going to be splashy. This is why I think you have to rearrange the expectations for Texas this season, because the record is going to be splashy no matter what. That's why I think the question is it Big 12 championship or bust? So the record is splashy because they have 7 built-in wins. 3 others should be wins. They'll be the favorite in every game but one. That's a road game at Alabama, obviously. They'll likely be a double-digit favorite in probably 8 or 9 games this year. And it might even be 10. Now, okay, so let's circle back to this. Is it Big 12 championship or bust for Texas? Not the Big 12 championship game. Not a nice 9-win record. I just said their numbers are built in. So your tolerance level for anything less than 9, your tolerance level should be 0. And that's being generous. I think your tolerance level should be Big 12 championship or bust. That's not a stretch. It should be. That's what it should be. Steve Sarkisian only gets fired at 7 wins or less. They win 7, he's done a lousy job and should get fired. They win 7, he's done a lousy job, and his quarterback has done a lousy job because the two of them are completely connected. I mean, as Quinn Ewers goes, so goes Steve Sarkisian. As Quinn Ewers goes, so goes the Texas season. It's that simple. And it can go well at times. I mean, it can. I think everybody's seen that, but it also can go sideways at times. But anything less than a Big 12 championship is not a good year. And I'm saying that because it's a down year for the Big 12 after the Big 12 being, I thought, a really good league last year. Oklahoma was trash, but beyond that, it was the league was impressive top to bottom. It was one of the best years, arguably the best year ever for the Big 12, top to bottom. I'm not saying take 1 or 2 great teams. I'm talking about top to bottom. Teams improved dramatically, except for Oklahoma. So a Texas season that produces only 8 wins and no Big 12 championship puts Steve Sarkisian on ice. But I'd be surprised if he was fired at 8. If he doesn't get to the Big 12 championship game, he's running a risk, and he should run a risk. But I think they get to 8 no matter what, and 8's probably good enough to limp into the SEC, which is not a good look. But I think he keeps his job. A 9-win season, with the way the schedule is set up, with what they have back, and the fact that it's a down year for the Big 12, a 9-win season, and just playing for the Big 12 championship, I think you could call that underachieving with who they have back. So does that mean the expectations are high? Yeah, they should be. Does that mean the pressure is on for him to keep his job? Not really, because they have built-in wins. You know, I always compare, take Dallas, take Quinn Ewers and Dak Prescott, take Mike McCarthy and Steve Sarkisian, and you've got very similar storylines. But I think Sarkisian faces the least pressure of all of them because he's got so many built-in wins. You're not going to get whacked if you win 9 games. And 9 games is not that impressive. It's not with this schedule. 9 is a sexy enough number. You keep your job. It's still underachieving, but he keeps his job. It should, at the very least, be a 10-win season. Now, the better question is it a Final Four team talent-wise? No. I mean, I don't see it. Talent-wise, roster-wise, it's not a Final Four team. No way. But that doesn't matter. Reputation, yes. Name, yes. A one-loss Texas team, and let's play this game that we have to do in college football. Let's say it's a one-loss Texas team, which I don't think is a stretch. I mean, again, if Quinn Ewers is mostly the Quinn Ewers you saw play against Washington, when he was really good, best player on the field, his best game start to finish that he had all year. Now they lost because their defense was garbage, but he played really well. Let's say you got him most of the year. You got that guy, not the guy against Oklahoma State, not the guy against TCU who should have been yanked. Is Texas a Final Four team as a one-loss team? They might. Because of their name, they might. They'd get their teeth kicked in, but they might get in because of who they are. If that one loss was a road loss and a decent road loss, you know what that means, just fairly competitive, and a road loss in September to Alabama, and that's it for you, Texas would be knocking. I'm not saying they deserve it. Roster-wise, they would not deserve it, but they would be knocking on a Final Four. They would. A one-loss Texas team gets the benefit of the doubt over almost everyone except a one-loss, say LSU. They'll get the benefit because of the league. It's then going to get this iffy place. And I'm just looking ahead. A one-loss Texas, one-loss USC are going to be viewed very, very much in the same way. Benefit probably goes to USC there. But because of appeal and name recognition, Texas were able to hang on and be a good team next year. They should. They lose a road game to Alabama. They should. At one loss, they're knocking on the Final Four door. They are. So I'm saying all this as a setup for Texas. They return just about everybody not named Bijan Robinson on offense. They have ridiculously skilled players. They are ridiculously good on the perimeter, outside the tackles. They're much better than they've been in the last few years in the offensive line. That is true. But, of course, he was not used. Bijan Robinson was not used at times. We don't have to beat that one anymore. But two things that are just absolute reality. They go as Quinn Ewers goes. And the part that I think is overlooked, that will constantly be overlooked, which is pretty easy to overlook, and that is they go as their total defense goes. And here's why I say that. If you just take the Texas, when you look at this Texas team that has a built-in schedule that gives them 9 wins easily, okay? Don't let up on the gas on you should win the Big 12 championship. This one should be yours for the first time in a long time. But here's what I don't think people are paying enough attention to and worried enough about. Texas offensively plays really. Quinn Ewers was as good as he could be in the Alamo Bowl. They lost a home game against Washington because they couldn't stop Washington. They didn't lose a home game against Washington because their quarterback was throwing it sideways, which he had. That was not on him. They lost a game against Washington, a home game against Washington, because their defense couldn't stop anybody. That I don't know. I don't know about him. I don't know which version of him you get. Maybe that one. If you do, you're really good. But then you can't just leave it at that. I'm not sure which version of a pretty good defense. You get a defense like that played against TCU. You win a bunch with that. Or do you get a team that gave up something like 9 yards a carry to one guy in Washington, against Washington at home? So it's not a slam dunk, and it's not a slam dunk because of those two things. It is a slam dunk. You get 9 wins because the schedule is set up that way, and you're just better than 9 of the 12 you play. You just are. I think they're better than 11 of the 12 they play. All right, so here's why this is even coming up now. Texas is the favorite to win the Big 12 championship in 2023. Texas was voted atop the preseason poll, 41 of 67 first-place votes. It's the first time, I mean, think about this. It's the first time that Texas was voted to win the conference since 2009. That's hard to believe. That's really hard to believe. Well, good for reporters. I think you knew what you're talking about. But to the average fan, you've picked them to win the whole thing every single year. That is a really remarkable stat. Kansas State, who has 14 first-place votes, is second. Then Oklahoma and Texas Tech received 4 first-place votes. Texas Tech is better than Oklahoma. They are. Anybody want to take that bet? I'd bet Texas Tech all day long on that one. Who wouldn't? Then TCU has 3 first-place votes. There's no doubt TCU has to. Come on. They have to come back in a big way. They have to fall in a big way. There's no doubt about that. So it's Texas at 41 votes, Kansas State, Oklahoma, Texas Tech, TCU, Baylor, Oklahoma State, Central Florida, Kansas, blah, 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 Iowa State, BYU, Houston, Cincinnati, West Virginia. I don't know whatever happened to the West Virginia program. They used to be good. They're just awful now. They are disappearing fast. Okay, I think it's legit. That's a fair thing. Texas has got enough talent back. They got these crazy skill people that I don't think anyone in the league this year can cover. It's just a smart bet for the first time since 2009. But what you have to worry about is the Quinn Ewers that played against Washington. The most complete game that he had, and I'm trying to remember the numbers, but he went something like, I think he had put up like 450 yards or 370 yards, no picks. He had a 60-yard touchdown that was dropped. He was as good as he could be all year. This is what's screwy about that. You really should never have a situation in which your quarterback throws for 370 with no interceptions in a home game and you lose. Here's why they lost. They gave up 450 yards. And the part about that Washington game, that's a pretty good Washington team. It's a good litmus test when you look at Texas then and now. But Washington had 25 first downs. They chewed up the clock for almost 37 minutes. You know what that means? They're gutting you, running right through you. And I don't know how many teams in the Big 12 can run, but it's a short shelf life when you can't stop the run. You're going to lose a game or two, or maybe more. So that one game, that one side of the ball, for all the optimism you would take away going, hey, look, there's the Quinn. That's Quinn Ewers right there. That's the guy. And it may be. But then you step back and go, wait a second. You were just absolutely trampled on the ground. That's why you stopped. That's why you shouldn't be fully confident. He had 31 completions, I think. No interceptions. They're the right pick. They are the right pick. There is talent. It's all around that skill stuff. You should question the defense, but you can't question a schedule that is built in 9 wins. They're a hard team to trust, as always. And because of that one game, that Washington game, which really you leave there going, wow, you really got this Quinn Ewers thing figured out. Sarkisian had to feel good about that. He had to love that as a jumping off point into the next season. Because otherwise, you got an entire off season of everyone talking about his sketchy moments, and there were quite a few. So all the goodwill you had built up, all the momentum you had built up on the offensive side, leaving a home game against Washington, you don't trust it because of how your defense played. And because of that one game to end the year, it's buyer beware as usual.